The first time I kissed him, it wasn't out of love. It was out of desperation to stop myself from saying the words that would destroy everything I'd ever known. It happened on a rainy afternoon in Oregon, in the middle of nowhere, where the sky hung low and the world smelled like wet earth and regret. Ethan was sitting in the driver's seat, tapping his fingers against the steering wheel, humming to some old rock song on the radio. And I, Luke Carter, his best friend since middle school, was staring at him like a man drowning with no shore in sight. We'd been inseparable for years. Same college, same friends, same stupid inside jokes that no one else found funny. But lately, every time he smiled at me, something inside me burned. Something I didn't want to name. He caught me looking that day. "What?" he laughed. "You look like you're about to tell me my car's on fire. If only it were that simple." I said something sarcastic, something safe, and turned away. But my voice cracked halfway through, betraying me. And before I knew it, my lips were on his. The car went dead silent. Only the rain tapping on the windshield like applause for a tragedy no one asked for. When I pulled back, Ethan's face was a storm I couldn't read. Shock, confusion, maybe fear. And I hated myself for putting it there. He didn't speak for a full minute. Then softly, "Luke, what the hell was that?" I didn't have an answer. I just looked out at the rain and whispered, "A mistake." But it wasn't. It was the truest thing I'd ever done. We didn't talk for a week after that. I told myself it was fine, that maybe silence could bury what happened. But Ethan wasn't the kind of person you could bury. He showed up at my apartment one night, still wearing that damn leather jacket, rain dripping from his hair. He didn't knock, just walked in like always. "Luke, we need to talk." My chest tightened. "About what?" "Don't play dumb," he said, voice low. "About what happened in the car." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "There's nothing to talk about." "Bullshit." He stepped closer. The smell of rain clung to him, sharp and familiar. "You don't kiss someone like that and then pretend it didn't happen." "Ethan, just tell me the truth," he interrupted, eyes searching mine. "Did you mean it?" I looked at him, the freckles across his nose, the worry in his eyes, and every part of me screamed to lie, to say no, to save what little we had left. But I couldn't. "Yes," I whispered. "I meant it." For a moment, neither of us breathed. Then he stepped back, as if the air between us had turned toxic. "Jesus, Luke," he muttered. "You're my best friend. I know. You can't just—" He stopped, jaw clenched. "You can't throw that away." And maybe he was right, but it was already too late. The weeks that followed were hell. We tried pretending nothing happened, but every conversation felt like walking through glass. Every laugh ended too soon. Every silence lasted too long. And then came the worst part, seeing him with her. Sophie. Blonde, kind, the kind of girl who made people believe in forever. She was everything I wasn't: safe, simple, accepted. I watched from a distance as he held her hand, his smile easy again, like I'd never touched him. I told myself I was fine, that it was better this way, that I'd rather lose him slowly than lose him all at once. But one night at a party, Sophie pulled me aside, her voice soft, almost pitying. "Luke," she said, "you should talk to him. He's been off ever since that road trip." And that was when I realized Ethan hadn't moved on. Not really. He was just running from something neither of us knew how to face. Took me another month to find the courage to confront him again. It was late, the kind of night where the world feels too big and too quiet. He was on the same pier we'd used to sneak to as kids, staring out at the dark waves. When he heard my footsteps, he didn't turn. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Neither should you," I replied. He laughed bitterly. "Always have to get the last word, huh?" I moved closer, the wind cutting cold between us. "You're running, Ethan. From me. From yourself. Don't do this." "Then tell me you don't feel it," I challenged. "Tell me that kiss meant nothing." He finally turned, and in his eyes, I saw everything: fear, want, confusion. "It meant something," he admitted. "But it's not supposed to." "Why not?" I demanded. "Because it's me? Because we're two guys. Because you're my best friend." he shouted, voice breaking. And I don't know how to be both. For a moment, neither of us moved. The wind whipped around us, carrying the echo of his words. Then I stepped forward, close enough to feel the warmth of his breath. You don't have to know how, I whispered. Just stop pretending you don't care. And then Finley kissed me back. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was messy and terrified and real. Every unspoken word, every buried feeling, poured into that moment like rain after a drought. But love, as I learned, doesn't erase the world. It only makes it harder to live in. Because the next morning, everything came crashing down. The morning after felt like waking up in someone else's life. The sunlight coming through the window should have been warm, but it just made everything too real. Ethan sat at the edge of the bed, shirtless, staring at the floor like he could somehow think his way back in time. I wanted to reach for him to remind him that what happened wasn't a mistake, but the silence between us was heavier than any words could carry. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Luke, what now? I swallowed hard. We stopped lying. To ourselves, to everyone. He looked up, eyes filled with something between fear and defiance. You think it's that easy? You think I can just tell my dad He stopped mid-sentence, shaking his head. He'll never accept it. You know that. I know, I said quietly. But I also know that living a lie will kill you faster than his disappointment ever could. He laughed bitterly. You sound so damn sure about everything. I'm not, I admitted. But I'm sure about you. That shut him up. He stared at me for a long time, then looked away. You shouldn't be. 3 days later, everything fell apart. Someone, maybe a friend, maybe a stranger, had seen us on the pier that night. The photo spread like wildfire across campus. Ethan's arm around me, our faces too close. It was everywhere before either of us could breathe. By noon, whispers turned into accusations. By evening, Ethan's phone wouldn't stop ringing. His father, his girlfriend, his teammates. And me? I became the villain in everyone's story. The one who turned him. Ethan stopped answering my texts. For a week, I heard nothing. Then a message came, short and sharp. Don't call me. Don't come by. I need space. I didn't blame him, but it still felt like drowning. A month passed. Autumn came early that year, painting the campus in gold and rust. Everyone moved on, as they always do. But I didn't. Every time I passed the gym, I half expected to see him. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was him. Then one night, I got a call from Sophie. Luke, she said, her voice trembling. You need to come. It's Ethan. My heart stopped. What happened? He got into a fight. Some guys cornered him after practice. He's at the hospital. The drive there was a blur. My hands were shaking on the wheel, my mind racing through every what-if imaginable. When I reached the ER, I saw him bruised, blood on his lip, sitting on the edge of the hospital bed like a boy who'd forgotten how to fight back. When he saw me, something inside him broke. You shouldn't have come, he muttered. I ignored that and stepped closer. You okay? He laughed, bitter and hollow. Do I look okay? I clenched my fists. Who did this? Does it matter? He asked quietly. I didn't fight back. I couldn't. Why the hell not? Because they were right, he whispered. About me. No, I said, my voice cracking. They weren't. He looked up at me then, eyes glassy and lost. Then why does it feel like they were? And that was when I couldn't hold it in anymore. I grabbed his face and forced him to look at me. Because you keep letting them decide who you are, Ethan. You keep giving them that power. But they don't get to define you. Not anymore. Tears welled in his eyes, and for a moment, I saw the boy I'd grown up with, the one who'd climbed trees and laughed until he couldn't breathe. I don't know if I'm strong enough, he said. Then let me be strong for both of us, I whispered. It wasn't easy after that. Healing never is. He dropped out of the team, lost a few friends. His dad stopped calling, but slowly, painfully began to breathe again. We'd spend nights sitting on the roof of my apartment, wrapped in blankets, watching the city lights. Sometimes we talk about the future. Sometimes we just sit in silence, our fingers brushing, saying everything without words. One night, he turned to me and said, "You ever wonder if we ruined our lives?" "Every day," I said honestly. He smiled faintly. "And you still think it was worth it?" I looked at him, at the way the streetlight caught the edge of his jaw, at the quiet bravery in his eyes. Every second. Winter came, and with it, a strange peace. Ethan started painting again. He'd always been good at it, but he'd given it up years ago to fit into someone else's mold. Now he painted everything: sunsets, strangers, us. One morning, I woke up to find him sketching me in bed, the sunlight hitting my face. "Creepy," I teased. "Art," he corrected, smirking. "Obsession," I countered. He leaned over, kissed me softly, and whispered, "Love." For the first time, it didn't scare me. Months later, he decided to confront his father. I offered to go with him, but he said not his was something he needed to do alone. He came back hours later, eyes red but smiling. "He didn't yell," Ethan said, almost in disbelief. "He just listened, said he doesn't understand, but he still loves me." I didn't say anything. I just pulled him close, burying my face against his shoulder. Sometimes love doesn't need words. A year later, we moved to Seattle together. Small apartment, one window facing the sea. It wasn't much, but it was ours. We didn't hide anymore. Not from friends, not from the world, not from ourselves. And maybe that was what love really meant: not the grand gestures or the perfect ending, but the quiet promise to show up every single day, no matter how hard it got. One evening, as the sun sank behind the skyline, Ethan handed me a small canvas. It was the pier, the same one where we'd first kissed. The sky was burning orange, and in the center stood two silhouettes, hands reaching, finally touching. He smiled softly. "It's us," he said. The moment everything changed. I looked at him, my throat tight. "Do you regret it?" He shook his head. "Not for a second." We stood there for a while, the world quiet except for the hum of the ocean outside. Then he reached for my hand, fingers intertwining with mine. "Luke," he whispered, "thank you for not giving up on me." I smiled. "You're worth every fight." And maybe that's the thing about love: it doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it bleeds. Sometimes it's just two people choosing each other, again and again, in a world that keeps telling them not to. As the last light faded from the sky, Ethan leaned his head against my shoulder, and I finally understood I hadn't just fallen in love with him. I'd learned how to love because of him. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was running anymore. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.